Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to Josh Does Coding. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to set up basic player movement inside of Unreal Engine. Now I do just want to say quickly, but because this is my first tutorial, in this channel I'm not only going to be showing you how to set up blueprints in C++ code, but I'm also going to be explaining what's going on as I do it so that you get a better understanding and actually learn watching the videos. That is the ultimate goal. Now we're just going to hop straight into it. So if you're watching this, I assume you are relatively new to Unreal Engine. So I'm going to try and go a bit slower and walk you step by step through how to set up player movements. So to get started, the first thing we're going to want to do is go to Settings. Right here in the top, you're going to click it. You're going to see World Settings and Project Settings. You're going to want to click on Project Settings. Once you do, you should see this whole menu pop up, and you're going to have a ton of options on the side here. You're going to want to scroll down to Engine, and then inside of Engine, you're going to look for Input. So you're going to click on Input, and you should see this all pop up. So all we need to pay attention to for now is bindings. You're going to see action mapping, axis mapping, and speech mapping. All we need to worry about right now is axis mapping. So you're going to want to click this little plus arrow to the right of axis mapping, and you'll get a drop-down menu. You're going to want to click the drop-down menu over here to the left, and you should see new axis mapping. So we're going to name this Move Up Down. Now, you can name it whatever you want. The name does not matter. But this is going to be responsible for moving us up and down. So if you click the little drop down for it to the left of Move Up Down, you should see that you get this option. Now this is your key binding for the axis mapping. So for example, what we're going to want to do, for me personally, I'm going to make it so that the W key, so you're just going to type W and go down the keyboard. The W key is going to be responsible for moving you up, or I should say forward. Realistically, I guess we should have made this forward and back, but who cares? It's just a name. So what you're going to want to do now is click Add Axis Mapping to Group. Again, you're going to click, it's not this plus. So you see Axis Mapping. That's the one we clicked the first time. What we want to do is click the plus beside Move Up Down. And that's going to give you another key. So we're going to make this the S key. So again, you're just going to type S. And you're going to scroll down the keyboard and click S. So what we're doing right now is that W is going to move us forward. So we want it to be 1. However, we're going to set it so S moves us back. And to do that, we're simply going to set scale right here to the right of S to -1. Just like that. So now W will move you forward and S will move you back. And I'll explain that a bit further later on when we're setting up the blueprint so it makes a bit more sense. So now what we're going to do is come back up to axis mapping and click the little plus arrow again, which will give you a new axis mapping. This one we're going to name Move Right Left, because it's going to be responsible for you moving left and right. Now, just like before, you're going to come down and set the key binding to be D. Again, you can set whatever you want, but you're just going to find the key you want, and you're going to do D. Now, D will be responsible for moving us right. So again, you're going to click the plus arrow beside Move Right Left, and you're going to set this one to A. Again, scroll down the keyboard and select A. And just like before, you're going to make A -1. Oop. All right, awesome. So now we have our axis set up. And actually, while we're here, we're going to go to action mapping. So not axis mapping, but action mapping. We're going to click the plus. Again, the drop down is going to come, and we're going to click that drop down. And we're going to name this jump. Then you're going to want to click the drop down for jump to open up the keybinds again. And personally, I'm going to make it spacebar, but again, you can do whatever you want. Now, you should have something similar to this. Again, you can use whatever keys you want and name it whatever you want, but the scale should be the same regardless. All right, so once you have all this, you can just X out of here, and we can start working on the blueprints. So we're going to go, you're going to want to come down here to your little content browser, and you're going to want to right click, and it's going to open up this menu. And we're going to want to create a blueprint class. So it'll be right here at the top, blueprint class. And then it's going to open up this menu here, and you're going to want to pick a parent class. Now, I'll go more in depth about what exactly a parent class is in a later tutorial. All you need to do for now is know that you can, or that you're going to want to choose a pawn. I guess we can do a pawn. Actually, let's do a character. We're doing the player character. So make sure you click. Let's just run through that again so it makes sense. Just go blueprint class and choose character. A pawn would be for AI. A character is going to be for the player controlled character. So we're going to just name it player character, and then you're going to want to double click it and it will open up the blueprint. You can see here, and you should have something like this. It should come built in with a few components here on the side, and then this is your blueprint. So what you're going to want to do, you can see right now you're on the viewport. You're going to want to move over to event graph. Now you can find this right below compile, save, browse, all that. Event graph. So once you're in event graph, you should see begin play, actor begin overlap, and event tick. Now, for right now, we don't need any of this, so you can just left click and drag a box over all three. Then you can right click on one of them, and you'll get this menu, and you can just click delete. So now we have a blank blueprint. Now this is where we're going to start actually implementing the functionality for our movements. So the first thing you're going to want to do is just anywhere in here, you're going to want to right click to open up your search bar. Now here is all the different types of blueprints there are. There is a ton, so I recommend just using the search bar. So you're going to want to search for get control rotation. Get control rotation, it should be under pawn. And you're just going to want to left click it and it will get added to the blueprints. So we now have the get control pawn, and we can just set it to be itself for now. So basically what this means when you set it to self is that is going to refer back to this character. Whereas if you were to drag something out, you can make it get the control of a different character. Hopefully that makes sense. But since we're leaving itself, it's going to control the rotation of this character, or get the control rotation of this character. So what you're going to want to do is drag out from return value. You're going to left click it, you're going to drag it out, and then you're just going to let go, and you're going to get this menu that pops up. Now we're going to search for break rotator. So if you're brand new to programming, a rotator is made up of the X, Y, and Z axis, also known as roll, pitch, and yaw. So video games, at least 3D video games, are 3D, so you have to worry about X, Y, and Z, not just X and Y. If you're working on a 2D game, you don't have to worry about Z, you can just do X and Y. So what you're going to want to do now is you're going to want to drag out the Z, and you're going to want to make a rotator. So you're just going to search make rotator. And by default, your Z is going to connect to X. So what you want to do is you want to right click on that, and you should get this menu. And you're just going to click break all links. And that will break the link between Z and X. And you're going to want to drag Z to Z. So what we just did is we broke the initial rotator. And now we're creating a new rotator that is only taking into account the Z axis from the previous rotator. And by default, we're setting X and Y to zeros. So what we're going to do now is we're going to, from return value, we're going to drag out, and we're going to select get forward vector. And what we're going to do now is we're going to add a movement input. So what you're going to want to do is drag out from return value, and then search for add movement input. Just like so, and just double check that the return value is going into world direction. So this is what it should look like so far. You're getting the control rotation, breaking the vector, or the rotator, sorry, making a rotator, getting the forward vector, and adding the movement input. So this is where the axis mapping comes in, because now we're going to search for our axis mapping. So we named it move up, down. Here you can see the axis events or axis values. We're going to want to click the axis events, which is under input. So it should look like this. Input axis, you get an axis value, and you should be able to drag out from it. So this top part right here, since we're getting the forward vector, is going to be your forward and back movement. So again, this should be get forward vector, and this will be your forward or back movements. So what you're going to do is you're just going to drag the axis value down into your scale value, and you're just going to connect this pin here to the add movement input node. And I don't know if I've mentioned it, but each of these are called nodes. All right. So once you have this, again, this is your forward movement all set up. Now back to the axis values I was talking about earlier. So remember how I made you set it to 1 and -1? So basically what that means is now when you're getting this, you're getting your rotator, and you're getting the forward vector from it. When you click W, you're saying move forward. You're saying do this. You're getting 1 for this, right? You want to move forward at 1 times the scale value, the axis value, which is being set to the scale value. But when you do -1, that means you're going to be doing the opposite of the get forward vector. So you're going to be moving backwards at a scale value of 1, if that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense. Again, when you press W, you're going to be moving forward using the forward vector, and when you press D, S, you're going to be moving backwards because you're doing the opposite of the forward vector. So once that is done, we can start working on your moving left and right. So you're going to drag out the return value from your make rotator, and you're going to get your get right vector, just like that. And just like before, you're going to drag out and search for add movement input. And once again, we're going to go search for our move right, left. And once again, make sure you choose the axis events. You're going to connect it to the add movement input. you're going to connect axis value to the scale value. And again, +1 scale means you're moving right. -1 scale means you're moving left. So what we can go ahead and do now is click compile right up here. You're going to click compile, compile successful, and you're going to click save. All right. And then actually I forgot, let's quickly set up our jump. So just below all this, you're going to search for jump, which is, we're going to want to search for our action events under input, jump. Then on pressed, you're simply going to search for jump. And then on released, you don't have to do anything. If you want to, you can put stop jump, but for now, we're just going to leave it like this. Then once again, compile and save. So simply all we're doing here is saying when we press our input for jump, which we set to spacebar, we're going to use the built-in Unreal Engine jump function. We're going to call it. All right. So once you saved and compiled, you can just minimize or exit out whatever you want. And you're going to drag the character. If you have a player start point, you don't have to worry about it. So do not drag your player into the scene. Just let the player start point do it. You'll automatically spawn wherever this is. So if you don't have a player start point, just select one, make one. So you should already have one if you are using a pre-built world. But if for whatever reason you don't, you can just come over here to the left and you can search for a player start and you can just drag it in wherever you want. So if you don't already have one, just add it. Then what you're going to want to do is you're going to come to settings, go back to project settings like before. But this time, instead of going down to input, you're going to want to go under projects and you're going to want to go maps and modes. So we're going to look at our game mode for now. This is all that matters to us. So right now you can see all of these options in selected game mode. Drop-down menu are all grayed out because we're using a pre-built game mode. So what you're going to want to do is click the plus arrow or plus sign right here beside the default game mode. And it's going to get you to create a new game mode. So we're just going to call it test game mode. You can call it whatever you want, whatever best suits your game. But I'm just going to call it test game mode. And now you can see that all of these are selectable and editable. So now you can select your default pawn class, your HUD class, your player controller class, your game state class, your player state class, and your spectator class. So we're going to select the default pawn class, which is the default character that the player will be using. So we named it player character. So we're going to select player character. If you don't see yours here, you can just use the search bar, search for player character, or whatever you may have called it. Now, once you've done that, you can just exit out of here again, and you can click play. So now once we're in the world, you can see we can move forward, we can move back, we can move left, we can move right, and we can jump. So I hope that helped some of you get your basic movement up and running. If this is my first video, so please, if anything confused you, or if you think I could improve anything for future tutorials, let me know down in the comments. If you did enjoy this video and it did help you, I would appreciate it if you left a like and maybe consider subscribing to the channel. The next video will be on adding rotation to the player so you can look around the world. And if you have any videos in specific you want to see next other than that, leave them down in the comments and I'll also make a video on that. So once again, I hope this helped you guys and I hope you have a great day.